I love to make slimline cards and also love to create cards with stencils, and in this video I am combining those two loves and sharing 8 different slimline cards made with different stencil techniques and layouts. Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik, and I recently noticed many companies were coming out with stencils and stamps as well as many dies for slimline cards. My favorite stencils for slimline cards are the 6x9 stencils by A Colorful Life Designs. They have a huge selection of these already on their website, and they're a little larger than needed for slimline cards, which makes them easier to work with in my opinion. Some of the new stencils are rather skinny, and I can choose which part of this to use, or I can make a bigger piece and then cut it off. So I am loving their assortment of 6x9 stencils. And here are the cards that I made with many different techniques and layouts, and they're all with the A Colorful Life Designs 6x9 stencils. Now this card is for 18, and it has an iPhone die from Dies to Die For. And I used Rena K's reverse stenciling technique. Now of course more details on all these cards will be on my blog, and links will be in the description box, and links to many of the products that I used as well. So this stencil is called Texture. One thing I really like, and I know it may not make a difference, but every one of their stencils has the name of the company, A Colorful Life Designs, and the name of the stencil on there. So even years from now, when I'm looking at this, I'll go, what was that called and who is that from? And I'll have the answer there. So I really liked that feature. And again, this is a teenage card with a die in the inside saying how fantastic they are. This is a Halloween shaker card. I made this with the Branches 6x9 stencil. And of course you could just make a pretty background. I decided to make it a little spooky, so I used black ink on a brown, and then I cut it out with a 3-window die, and the middle window is a shaker with some bats and some other colorful shaker pieces, and that was very easy to make. And then I did have an extra piece, so I put it on the inside. So that's another card that I made. This is one of my favorites of the new stencils, the 6x9 stencils. It's called Swirl Grid, and so it has this grid here, but then it's got the swirls on the side, and I love that combination. And I created this card with that stencil. This is a die from Bright Rosa, and the edge gets cut out as well as a fern, and I continued the pattern from the stenciling onto the fern, so the pattern continues from the back onto that. So I really like that look. And then on the inside I just said, have a beautiful day. This is another fun stencil from that the group of new ones I got. It's called Boho Glam. So I took a balloon stencil and added a little bit of color, and then I double stenciled with that Boho Glam stencil in a little bit darker orange to make this slimline birthday card. And on the inside I did that same idea on a different balloon die, just adding some tone-on-tone color with that stencil, and even on the words there too. It's getting close to fall and Halloween, and I love to make fall and Halloween cards. And another thing that you can do with stencils is to apply Deco Foil Transfer Gel Duo through a stencil. This one is stained because I used it with black earlier, but it's, you know, it's a permanent black, but that's no problem. You can use it again. It's called Zentangle Dots, and it's one of my favorites. And I stenciled, I applied the Duo Gel through the stencil, let it dry. It dries tacky, and then you can apply foil or other things to it. And then apply some pressure with the die cutting machine if you choose, although some people just press it on. And I created this pretty piece using different colors. So I had some gold and some orange and some red, some smaller pieces, and I wanted to get all those fall foiled colors. I think if I were to do it again, I might do that on a gold paper or a light green or something. But to complete the coloring on this card, I just inked in the white areas. So it looks really good, and each one of those leaves has the shimmer of foil on this Slimline Blessings card. So that's another thing you can do with your stencils, and even on the inside I just added another strip there. I am loving the new Tonic Iridescent mirror card, and one thing you can see here is that it creates rainbows. It's really a pretty iridescent mirror card, and I applied Black Stays-On ink through this stencil, which is called Shades, 50 Shades. It's my fault. I put black ink on that. And because it was Stays-On ink, I couldn't get a lot of it off, but again, that's not a problem. And raised up the Hello Beautiful on there for another fun stenciled card. Another thing you can do with stencils is to emboss. You'd have to check your machine's instructions, but you're going to use a rubber mat. And again, this is that iridescent mirror card, and I used 4 different shades. And I cut it out with a Slimline border die. And then I used a rubber mat and stenciled this Dots and Dashes stencil, embossed with the stencil. So this is an easel card, and it stands up like that. It's a thank you, and thank you for your kindness. And then when you open it, I also did some very light blue stenciling with the same stencil, and you could just write right over that because it's just a light background there. So there's another fun card that I made. I recently saw a Slimline bridge card with a floating sentiment on Facebook. Now, I couldn't find a tutorial on how to do it, but I was able to figure one out fairly easily. Slimline cards, of course, have to fit into a number 10 envelope, and it is 4 1/8 this way and 9 1/2 this way. So the maximum size it could be is 4 inches by like 9 1/4. And of course, you'll look at your Slimline dies and you'll see that some of them are 9 or 8 or whatever, but they're all going to fit into something like this. So I knew that I wanted to try this idea, and bridge cards always have this fold here. And when you mail it, one goes down and one lies flat, and that's how you mail it. So I knew, so I did mine 4, and then I measured 1 inch, 1 inch for each of these folds here. And so I figured out that the maximum, the size that I needed to fit the way I wanted it to would be a 4 by 11. So once again, when you lay it flat, it's going to fit into this card envelope. And we then have this floating acetate sentiment on the top, which is, and I'm going to show you how to make that. So I've started with a green polka dotted card base that again is 4 by 11, and I'm going to score at 1 and 2. And then I'm going to flip it and do the same on this side. Now I like to fold the opposite way of what I want, just to make sure that if it's going to crack, it usually won't crack that way. And then I'm going to fold up and down, and that's one side. And then I'm going to fold up and down. Nope, I did that opposite, didn't I? Up on the inside and down on that one. And there we have our bridge card setup. Now I have a stencil from a Colorful Life design called Flowing Drops. And I am going to apply some color with some blending brushes. Now that's pretty, just the way it is, and I'll show you. But to make it more interesting, what I like to do sometimes is to take the stencil and just move it over just a little bit and kind of create a shadow with a contrasting color. And I'm going to use Distress Ink Wild Honey for that shadow. And a contrasting color, so you'll see two different colors there. Like that. Well, I like to leave one on the top and lift it and see if we're happy. I think I want it a little darker. And that way you can lay it back down again and add some more and not have any difficulty finding out where it was. Let's see if we like that. Yeah, I think the contrast is a little bit better now that I added a little more. So I'm going to attach this on the inside part of the card, in the middle. Oh. And I cut it to leave just a little bit of a border on all four sides. Now I have cut a piece of acetate, and it is 1.25 inches tall, and then it's going to be 9 inches long, because like I said, you have to measure it so that one side is down and one side is up. But I cut it a little long deliberately so I can line it up, put the words where I want it, and then trim off the sides. If you cut it exactly and then one side, you know, is just a teeny bit short, I always figure it's safer just to cut it a little longer. I have a new die set from Dies. dot 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 to die for, and it's called Sending Dandelion Wishes, and I'm really liking it, and I use that. And you can see that I cut out the sentiment, Sending Dandelion Wishes, in black, and then this dandelion and a few of the little pieces that are flying off in white. I think I'll quick put, this is the back of the card for signing it, and I think I'll go ahead and quick put that on. And that's a Cut Plurations stitched die. If you know me, you know I love to have my dies having stitching on them for my die cuts for added interest. Now this is going to be across here. I know it's kind of hard to see the acetate. I cut the sentiment out, but before I cut the black piece, I added Easy Cut Adhesive from Therm and ICraft. And you know, there's many products like this on the line, but this literally on you know, available. Easy Cut Adhesive is a perfect name for it because it does, it's very easy to work with, and the backing comes off easily, and I'm really liking that type. So I have Sending Dandelion Wishes, and it has been cut out already, but the back has the sticky stuff on it, so I wanted to keep them in the die. And then I will remove the backing, and they will be sticky. See how easy that was? And of course you really couldn't use glue. I am going to use some glue dots for adding those other things, but I want to start the words about there. I should really put this. Let's try it on here. Then you can see it, and I can see it, right? Sending Dandelion I think there's a little extra piece there in the A that I don't need, but let's see. Oh, I think it's right. Dandelion Wishes. And then I have a couple of black little flying dandelion pieces. These are really tiny. To get that back piece off, there they go. Alright, so I think I put one here. I just love the look of the acetate that kind of disappears, and you see the words like they're floating across the bridge. Thought that was a really neat idea. But I can't attribute it because I don't know who came up with the idea. Now I am going to use glue dots to attach this across it, and then I'm going to cover those glue dots up. So they that idea works well as long as you can cover them up. So this one, I kind of want the glue dots about here. And then this one, nope, I didn't make that. I didn't make it long enough, did I? Oh. Yep, let's see if we can get those off. I think we can. We might have to cover up another one. The reason I had to pull those off is because while I do want the words to be here, yep, we're going to have to do a little fix. I'll be right back. So I thought that I had kind of screwed up putting it on, but I didn't. The important thing is to have one side up to the acetate up to the edge, and then this side has to lay flat because that's how you're going to mail it. And then you attach that, and then when it stands up, the floating acetate is along the top, and you can see those words. So then I'm going to trim the excess acetate off. And then I am going to add one complete dandelion over here that will cover up those glue dots. And I think I want a little glue along that stem. And so the dandelion covers up those glue dots on the acetate. And then we have some little white pieces that are going to cover up the glue dots over there and add some interest, of course. And so now I'm using my micro glue dots. Before I was using my mini. So I have those available at all times to add things like this. To like acetate, you really can't use glue. And of course I have my favorite glue too, so we're all using different adhesives for different purposes. And then one more white one. Oh. Falling off of this dandelion. Even though dandelions are a weed, I just think that they're very sweet on cards. And I was happy to find this die set. Now these are little black ones, and they had adhesive on the back already. And so we're going to put a couple of those too. So our floating sentiment easel card, bridge card, that it fits into a slimline envelope is complete. I love how these stenciled slimline cards turned out and hope my cards have inspired you to give them a try. Thanks for watching, sharing, and subscribing, and thanks too for helping me share the joy of creativity.